I believe we're sort of entering this golden era for construction technology, and AI is a big element of this.
Built this week, breaking it down. Built this week, we show you how. A fresh idea, a clever tweak. You locked in, you built this week.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Built This Week, the podcast where we share what we're building, how we're building it, and what it means for the world of AI and startups. I'm Sam Nadler, co-founder here at Rise Labs, and each and every week I'm joined by my friend, business partner, and co-host Jordan Metzner. How you doing today, Jordan?
Yo, Sam, happy to be back. Another crazy week in AI. We've seen awesome launches from all the frontier labs and obviously great guests today. So super excited to get chatting.
Yeah, I'm really excited to introduce our guest for this week's episode, Eldar from Field Materials. How's it going today?
Good to meet you guys, Sam and Jordan. Doing well. Thank you.
Awesome. So we will jump into Field Materials. And before we do, however, don't forget to like and subscribe. We have episodes out every Friday. Eldar, tell us a little bit about Field Materials before we jump into the demo.
Yeah, Field Materials AI, we are AI platform to automate material and equipment procurement for contractors, for commercial and civil contractors that buy lots of materials. We build AI agents that automate all the data entry and a lot of the workflows related to procurement.
Amazing. Okay. So in our quick conversation, we discussed a few, potential future features that may be relevant to Field Materials AI. I took my stab at building one of those, this kind of scenario control for different potential price fluctuations and different analyses that could happen. I may be completely off base here, but let's run through it and tell me kind of what lands, what doesn't land. It all starts with uploading a BOM, a BOM, as I think are the industry term. So confirm, upload, boom, we've got all our potential prices here. And you could theoretically go one by one and, manipulate the price for concrete, obviously a very important material based on this project. A 10% increase in concrete could result in a 6% risk of overrun. Let's drop that back down. You could go to, electrical, et cetera, et cetera. I thought these shock mode presets could give us a little bit more to talk about. So if there's a potential tariff shock, boom, looks like it could have an impact on steel, potentially reinforcement bars, drive a risk of overrun up to 9%. Procurement strategy, lock structural steel pricing via forward contract immediately. In that case, let's try one more. Maybe there's a port delay. Boom. That would have actually not so bad. A risk of an overrun only 1%. Your risk exposure here looks to be primarily in plumbing. So your procurement strategy based on this potential shock scenario would be to diversify your supplier base for plumbing to mitigate concentration risk, yada, yada, yada. Let's do maybe a market relief and see if that helps. Risk, obviously, nothing, no critical action required. Everything dropped in prices and, our margin increased. We're flush with cash right now. So anyway, this is just to kick off the conversation, get started. I have no idea if this is completely off base. Let me know your thoughts.
No, this is great. This is actually, reminds me of a module we have called Pricing Intelligence, where you can kind of see all the prices that you've been paying for materials across different jobs throughout the year, and sort of shows you the fluctuations in price. And we also have a concept of a BOM where you can upload a bill of materials for the job. But what this does, which is kind of cool, is that you can sort of throw in different variables. What happens to this cost code, let's say electrical or concrete, if a certain scenario happens, and then you can kind of see what will happen to your total price or to your job costs in general. So pretty cool. I would say this definitely has a place, and elements of this could be, some of them exist in our platform and some of them could be ported or could be good enhancements to how our platform works.
Awesome. Let's kind of jump into that, if you don't mind, Eldar. Just tell us a little bit about, how did the company start? How did you guys get into the space? And I mean, it seems like AI is so critical to how your company operates, but did you guys exist before AI, and how has AI kind of allowed you to build what you guys are building?
No, that's yeah. I mean, we started in 2022, same year when ChatGPT came out. We started it in January, and ChatGPT came out towards the end of the year. The idea for the company, I've been operating in AI for a long time. So I went to Stanford for my grad school, and then I founded my first company in 2011, which was AI company for retail. This is my second company, and when we founded Field Materials, the basic idea was very simple. The basic idea was, hey, commercial contractors buy lots and lots of materials. It's a very manual process. You have to, get quotes from your suppliers. You have to enter purchase orders, create the orders, a lot of times doing manual data entry. The materials get shipped to the job site or to the warehouse. Somebody has to check what has been received, what's still outstanding, what's back ordered. Then the invoices come in, someone has to verify those invoices, enter those invoices into the accounting software, verify their validity and make sure that you received all the materials. A lot of manual work sort of from purchasing staff, accounts payable staff, project managers. And the basic idea was that, and can we automate some of these workflows? And coincidentally, the same year that we founded the company, AI really made a center stage appearance. And we realized in early 2023 that so much of this could be automated because of the fact that we can read the information from the documents themselves, whether it's a quote document that you get from a supplier or you get a delivery ticket, when the material gets shipped to you, or the invoice. So much of that information could be read. And then by doing direct tight integrations with the underlying ERPs, we can automate a lot of the workflows and the data entry. And that's sort of like what laid out the product and really shaped the product. And we launched the product in the middle of 2023. And it really took off. And, in the past 2 years, we've grown, 3x last year, more than, about 7x the previous year, and really hit it, humming on all cylinders.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about, like, I mean, I guess your customers are maybe large contractors or large builders, or are they kind of project management companies? Or are they even material providers? Tell us a little bit about who's using it. And like, again, I mean, there's construction, everything from, building a barbecue in your backyard to, obviously like the World Trade Center. So everything in between. But yeah, tell us a little bit about who's using it and kind of, where they found the best use cases for it.
Yeah, our primary customers are, I would say, two camps. I would say 80% of our customer base is specialized trade subcontractors, but commercial subcontractors. So I want to say that this is not your, don't think of it as residential contractors that do your home renovation, let's say. Think about commercial contractors that build hospitals, data centers, big office buildings. And in that segment, think about specific specialized trade subs like the electrical contractor, mechanical contractor that does all the HVAC and plumbing, the concrete contractor, the drywall contractor. So those guys, they do this massive project where they buy lots and lots of materials, thousands or hundreds of different, and that's our primary customer base. And and especially with the some of the latest trends in the industry where they build in this massive data centers, the size of Manhattan, or billions of dollars, they have very, very aggressive timelines to build those projects, and they really desperately need automation tools to streamline the whole process of procurement. What are we buying? When is that shipping? What have we received? Have we paid for this? Make sure that we're actually using the correct price and that we pre-negotiate up front. All those things that go into procurement, inventory, what's sitting in our yard, what's sitting in our warehouse, all those pieces, prefabrication, what are we prefabricating offsite, what are we delivering onto the site. So all the steps, and AI is a big element of what we do in this, because we automate so much of this workflows.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know the industry that well, but I presume even today that's still done a lot by pen and paper and spreadsheets and clipboards and things like that.
Yeah, most of this, the way it's done now in the industry, it's a lot of it is emails, spreadsheets, and manual data entry into the underlying accounting software. So even if you put it into the accounting software, because it has to be done manually, somebody has to actually type every single line item with all the quantities, all the units of measurements into the on-premise, a lot of times, office software, and we automate all of that. So we basically take that work that has to be done by someone entering all this information, we automate the data entry and we automate all the verification steps so that you still have a human in the loop, but you take that busy work or that work that everybody hates. Nobody likes data entry if you talk to people, or nobody likes going and verifying is this correct or not. And that's what we do as a company and alleviate a lot of this pain.
Awesome. And so tell us kind of the impact. Is the impact kind of like they're able to deliver faster, they're saving money, they're saving time, all of the above? Obviously, these are not like high tech companies. So them building their own kind of like, vibe coded AI solutions probably not going to cut it, especially because you mentioned these are large projects over a large amount of years and things like that. But yeah, just tell us kind of the net impact on implementing the software to the bottom line.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are three, I would say, levers, but the primary impact is just overhead costs, just being able to accomplish more with less. What I mean by that is that if you're a contractor that's doing $100 million in volume of projects and you're going to do 200 next year because you have a big backlog and you have maybe one or two people in your purchasing or accounts payable, now you can do the same volume, or sorry, twice the volume that you did last year with the same staff, because now you've automated so many tasks. So instead of doubling your head count, now you can actually accomplish the same amount of work, sorry, twice the amount of work with the same with software, with the same staff. Or, sometimes we also hear from our customers like, hey, I have my AP person retire and I need automation because I'm not going to be able to replace that person. How can I use software to automate that? So that's sort of an example of sort of like automating the human labor and or scaling humans to more volume, to more work. The second value is actually about helping you with the material costs themselves. So like so much of the margin is bled because you either generate material waste, you double order something, or you paying retail price instead of paying a pre-negotiated rate that you went and negotiated with your supplier. A lot of the things that we do around procurement, automation, verification is to ensure that you pay the correct price with the supplier, you cut down the rogue spending, and do all of that. And lastly, I would say the last value prop is just automating the payment cycle, the procure-to-pay cycle, which is a lot of times the invoices takes 30, 45 days to get approved, to review them, and it takes a lot of time to pay all of your bills. We cut that time to literally a few days because we can automate so many of the steps, which means that now you can not only get through the payment cycle faster, but you can also get some discounts because paying your invoices early, essentially.
Oh, that's awesome. And do you think, can we just jump in a little bit to kind of the impact some of these frontier models have had? I mean, have the impact of kind of the new Opus models or the new Claude Code models been step function improvements in what you've been able to develop, not only, I guess, from your product perspective, but, internally for software development and things like that as well?
Yeah. So if you can see on the screen right now, like you have all the different agents that we build in. So we have dedicated agents for different document types. So you have, there are different quote documents, whether it's switchgear quotes, HVAC quotes, there's different documents like trucking tickets or asphalt tickets. Underneath it all, we're basically building a dedicated agent that can understand and read those documents and do the data entry for you, understand what is what in that document to automate the verification and matching. Because we're using these foundational models, because when these foundational models get better every single quarter, every single month, our fundamental ability to read, interpret, and verify the documents is also going up. So, and that's the amazing impact of all these upgrades that we're seeing in the industry. That you sort of like your models could get better overnight, literally, because simply somebody released a new version and it works so much better. So, and that's sort of one types of agent and now we have 20 plus agents that sort of read different types of documents. And we're going to be introducing other agents very soon beyond just extraction and reading of the documents, but, automating a lot of the steps itself in the ERP or sort of procurement steps that need to take place. And because we're relying on the foundational models underneath, obviously our models will get better and better. And we also ourselves doing a lot of work, just constantly refining the models themselves and training those models on thousands of documents that we have, sort of fine tuning them to operate better and better and making a lot of the enhancements to make them smarter.
Awesome. Super cool. Just give us some, maybe just as we kind of wrap up a little bit, but, where do you see the construction industry going? And, how do you see AI having a larger impact on the industry overall?
Yeah, I mean, construction is one of those industries that have been for the long, for a long time has been kind of lagging behind, almost like when you think about technology adoption. Like a lot of people like to quote this, like the IT spend of construction industry is so much lower. I think it's like a couple of percent compared to like healthcare or compared to retail, compared to banking, where companies spend a lot more on IT to elevate the productivity of their labor. In construction, we haven't seen this. The productivity of labor did not go up a whole lot in the past couple of decades, and technology spend was not very high as well. But we are seeing that the wheels are actually turning right now, like literally in the past, I would say 5 to 7 years, where more and more construction tech software companies are coming out, and construction company and one of the biggest kickers almost like that happened to the industry was one was COVID, but more importantly is the data center boom. I think the data center boom that we're seeing now is pushing construction industry to completely elevate its game, because this companies like Google and Meta and Verizon, everybody else that's building the data centers, they come to this construction companies with this aggressive schedules and big jobs, that construction companies say, hey, we cannot be operating with the old means, with pen and paper methods, or data entry or doing those things. And they go and say, we need a modern solution. We need a more automated means. Also physical AI, adding robots at the construction sites, doing a lot more prefabrication offsite. So those massive jobs really pushing the construction companies to innovate and change, and that's why I believe we're sort of entering this golden era for construction technology, and AI is a big element of this, component of this.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, honestly, it's really great to hear, and just something I, don't really think about so much is kind of how AI implements industries that are so as maybe like, more hands-on type of industry like construction. So it's really cool to hear that, these kind of more old school industries are starting to adopt AI, and obviously a huge opportunity, in the commercial space. And then, as you mentioned, data centers is just all the rage right now. So super cool and really great learnings. All right. Shall we jump into the news, Sam?
Yes, absolutely. So let me queue up kind of two articles that to some degree are telling two opposite sides of the current kind of story of what a Claude code and what's happening to some software stocks over the last couple of weeks. So this came out, I believe, yesterday. Software stocks rebound as Anthropic announces new partnerships. I believe, partnerships with Slack, Intuit, DocuSign, LegalZoom, etc. And then another article, SAP users question value for money of firms' AI tools. I think just generally like, are businesses getting the same value from their historic, SaaS solutions? Jordan, any high level thoughts on, is this a moment in time? Was the, I guess, decrease in software stocks of weeks justified? Was it just market scare? What are your high level thoughts? And Eldar, I'll kick it over to you.
My comment though, on the first news about the Anthropic and Claude sort of releasing this enterprise plugins is that I think it's a very logical step, because I think the first wave of AI has been predominantly just like, people would use AI to get advice or summary, or, sort of like just, as a chatbot. I think the next wave that we're seeing with OpenClaw and some of the most recent developments is that you're giving hands into the hands of AI, and you ask an AI to do something with your data, to do something, with your tools. And I think that's a prime example of that development where, Anthropic is realizing that, this is critical in order to give AI arms or hands. And being able to plug into the enterprise tools that these companies are using is a logical step. Gemini already kind of had obviously an advantage because they're the Google tool, and they have inherent ability to plug into some of the things like Gmail and Calendar. But this is powerful, and it's a longer running trend. On the second news, however, on SAP, I think it's almost, I think while the both news are kind of related, I think that with SAP news, I think it's more of a different story to me. I think the story is more like, yes, you have a lot of this incumbents and a lot of the enterprise software players that are trying to adopt AI tools, but the key is not to build a gimmick. The key is not to just check the box and say, yes, we have an AI tool in our toolbox, and now you can use AI with this old enterprise software. The key is to make it useful. Like at the end of the day, if you build an AI software like us, you have to go from the use case. What can you fundamentally do different for the end user that you cannot do with the current software? And once you have a use case, then you go back and actually build the AI to actually accomplish and realize that use case. If you do the opposite way, where you simply say, hey, I have a piece of software, let me add AI to it. What's the minimum thing I can do, and how can I launch it as fast as possible? Then you end up building a gimmick, and nobody needs that. And I think that the key is to actually approach it the right way and build something useful.
Yeah, so I think I'm probably in a pretty similar camp. I think, you talk about these incumbents, whether it's SAP or Salesforce or, some of the other ERP solutions, obviously they've been terribly slow at implementing AI on top of their platform. So you have this natural behavior happening, pretty organically, which is companies are saying, hey, we're relying on these massive, systems of record, whether that's Workday or SAP or whatnot, and we're hoping that they implement AI because, it will make our lives better. It'll make our job easier. It'll help us manage our company better. But the companies aren't delivering on those promises, or certainly not delivering on those products. And at the same time, while those companies are getting pressure from their investors, their clients are getting pressure, right? What are you guys doing with AI, right? And so, over the last probably few months, we've seen a lot of people start to kind of build on top of, right? Like kind of, hey, just leave it where it is. Let's take out all the data we can and let's go build on top of it with AI. Now, obviously, in this like natural organic behavior, at the same time, obviously the Salesforces and the SAPs are trying to build AI to deliver a valuable product. And there's always, and I think this is probably where they're getting hit the most, is probably on new customer acquisition, right? I mean, who really is a large company today that's saying, oh, let's sign up for Salesforce today. Like we need to sign up right now, like right this minute, right? And I think that's probably where they're really getting squeezed, because if you have a large enterprise and you're sitting on top of Salesforce as like your central CRM for your company, I mean, your ability to move off of Salesforce quickly is probably pretty difficult. Now, building your own like vibe coded CRM may be possible in a short term or for a small type of company, but if you're a large enterprise, you have thousands of seats or something like that, it's probably not so easy to pivot off of Salesforce, that quickly. It's probably easier to extract data from Salesforce, build some AI on top, build like a mini tool, right? And I think everybody's hoping, at least some of their clients are hoping, that there's a backfill here where AI comes in and says, hey, don't worry, you don't need to build all these tools on top. We're going to come and solve your problem for you. Now, if you look at a company like Google, I think, I probably, 6-8 months ago, we were talking about Bard and how bad their product was, and, how, they're a loser in the race, yada, yada, yada. And now, we're pretty much talking about Google kind of in the number 3 spot from a foundational model perspective, with the probability or optionality to get into the second or first spot, right? And so, high tech companies like Google, we're seeing doing a great job of implementing AI, to the point that, what will be the impact on, Google's, work suite, for example, and how will that have a negative impact on Microsoft's work suite, for example. I saw yesterday that Salesforce announced a deal with Anthropic, but Anthropic is both, their friend and their enemy at the same time, right? And, these companies that own these foundational models, whether that's OpenAI or Anthropic or Google, obviously have this unique competitive advantage where they can go build their own SAP or their own CRM. And, maybe they can even build adapters to do that. And I think the news, I don't know if we shared the article, but it was something about, Anthropic had figured out a way to write COBOL code and transfer it into new modern language, and look what that impact is on IBM, right? And so, these kind of more antiquated players, the competition is coming at them faster than they ever thought. I don't think IBM thought they were like in this unique space where who the hell wants to manage, kind of COBOL software development. But, then, Anthropic let their models run automatically over the weekend and come back with a, COBOL, transformer, and boom, maybe banks are starting to migrate off of COBOL because now they can buy this transformer software. So, it is like a moving target, it seems like. I would say that like some of these large major companies have an opportunity, but that opportunity is fleeting, especially if they're not able to continue to acquire new customers at the same rate they were historically, and what would be the impact of that? I think like there's such an opportunity for Salesforce to just be an AI focused company that ends up becoming a huge player in the space. But it's also looks like it's more possible, if not more probable, that they actually end up losing here because they're not able to implement AI fast enough within their software and their organization.
Well, I would maybe add to this that the it's interesting because I feel like it's also a retention play. Like the companies, the big incumbents are launching AI tools so that this existing big enterprise customers don't have reason to leave them because they would say, oh, you don't have AI tools, to new players that are trying to innovate and build out new AI powered CRM or new AI powered ERP or whatever that might be. And but I think it's kind of reminds me a little bit of the early days of AWS, if you think about it, because when AWS came out, you know, all the big guys did not use cloud computing, and they used IBM or something like that, but AWS started from the low end of the market. They said, oh, we're going to serve startups, and they served them well, and they moved up the market, and then the incumbents like IBM try to hold on as long as possible to that enterprise segment, and they still hold some of that segment. But it's sort of a very interesting development, very much in line with what was happening to cloud computing a few years back.
Yeah, and even as you mentioned, kind of cloud computing is now having its moment as well as these data centers are getting built, and you see people buying hardware to run their own open claw or whatnot, right? So kind of what's old is new and what's new is old, and we're starting to see the cycles over and over again.
Oh, just wanted to mention that the one thing I wanted to say about the SAP news also, that as a company that's building AI, it's also a testament to the fact that AI tools actually are not easy to build. They actually take a lot of iterations, and the reason why it's sometimes this tools get some of this publicity is because if you release them too early, when they're not polished or they're not fully designed to address the use case that you have, it's just premature because the tool is not built, and it actually takes many iterations to get AI tools right to address the specific business cases. So I think that is a testament to how difficult it is still to build quality AI software.
Eldar, thank you so much for joining. Where can people find you? Where can people find Field Materials?
I would say the best way is to go to fieldmaterials.com, fieldmaterials.ai. Both URLs work. And if you want to know more about like my opinion on some of the things, you can also follow me on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn just based on my name and last name. And yeah, I'm very excited to be a part of this podcast today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Great episode. And again, reminder, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Episodes out every Friday. Thank you, Jordan. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Bye.